Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, and he traveled through the region Samaria and Galilee, and he was entering a village there. And it says that he was met about 10 people with the disease of leprosy. When Jesus sees them, he gives a rather unusual response. They say, "Have pity on us," and you would expect him to say, "You're healed," but he doesn't say that. And when Jesus saw them, he said, "Go and show yourselves to the priest." Interesting. Go and show yourselves to the priest. You know why he said that? If you like the Bible, and if you like to study it a little bit, if you go to the book of Leviticus, and you read chapters 13 and 14 of the book of Leviticus, and what it's going to tell you is how a person with leprosy re-enters the community, or a person with leprosy comes back into healthy society. You know how they had to do it? I mean, there were multiple prescriptions, but let me just tell you one that's very interesting. What they had to do is they had to go to the Hebrew priest. The Hebrew priest had to examine them, and if their condition was not obvious, in other words, if the scaling associated and the disfigurement associated with the disease was gone, then they had to go through a ritual. Listen to what the ritual was. They had to take two birds, you got it? And they would have an earthen dish, and they'd fill the earthen dish with water. Then they take one bird, and they slit the bird open, and they put the blood of the bird into the water. Then they would take a branch, typically it was hyssop branch, and they dip it in the blood and water from this bird, and then they'd sprinkle it on the people who wanted to rejoin the society because they were healed. Next, what they do is, remember I told you they take two birds. One they slice open and put the blood into the water in the earthen dish, but the other bird they turn loose. And the bird would just fly away. And it would be like it would carry the sickness away. And so when Jesus says, "Go and show yourselves to the priest," what he was actually saying was, go and comply with the teaching in Leviticus 13 and Leviticus 14 in order for you to rejoin the society. Now, all of you have seen movies of people with leprosy. When I was a boy, they were more common than they are now. But all of you have seen this. Leprosy, or I think the actual name for it is Hansen's disease. What it does is it eats away your extremities. You know, it would eat away your fingers. And lots of times what you would do is you would see people, at least in the movies, and what they would do is because their hands were all disfigured, what they would do is they would take a rag, and they would put it over their hands like this, or on their feet, because it would eat away their toes and their feet. They would cover up their feet. And sometimes they would do this because it would eat away their lips, or their nose, or their ears. And all you'll be able to see is their eyes. But that's Hansen's disease, or leprosy is another way to say it. And all of these people, these 10, they all have it. And Jesus says, "Go and show yourselves to the priest." And so they're on their way, please listen to me. And they're on their way to the priest, And they ain't got no fingers. And they don't have any toes. And they don't have any lips. And their face is nothing but scars. And their ears is coming off, rotting off. Listen. And all of a sudden, they got fingers. And all of a sudden, they got toes. And all of a sudden, they touch their face, and they have the flesh of a baby. I've often wondered what went through them. Electricity or heat, or did they just start to quiver? Something happened to them. The power of God made them new. This is an awesome thought. And I think many times we just kind of glance over this. And as they were going, they were healed. All of them are new. They got their fingers back. They got their toes back. They got their flesh back. All of a sudden, they were new. But this is the point, and this is the reason why the church puts this gospel today. They get what they want from God. They got what they wanted. And now they have a choice. And the choice is to say thanks or not. To say thanks or not. I think all of us in our lives have been faced with this. You pray for something, you get it, your family is blessed, whatever. And you have the choice to say thanks or not. To say thanks or not. And only one comes back. There were 10, remember? Only one comes back. And the other 9 doesn't say what happens with them. And one of them, realizing that he had been healed, he returned, glorifying God in a loud voice. Now, where it says he returned, I think maybe a better translation there might be something like this. Do you think he walked back on his new feet, with his new fingers, with his new face, with his new body? Do you think he walked? I don't think so. I think the dude was running. I think the dude was running. And where it says this, glorifying God in a loud voice. And probably he was screaming a prayer. You know, may God be praised. May God be praised. And then it says he fell at the feet of Jesus and thanked him. He fell at the feet. We don't know how to interpret that. Either that means that he would have knelt at the feet of Jesus and looked up at him, or it would have meant that he would have gone prostrate, where he puts his new face into the dust and said, thank you, thank you. But what is so interesting about the story is this man, it says, and he was a Samaritan. So if there was a mix of Jews and Samaritans, the one you would think would come back would be who? The Jews would come back. But the one who actually comes back is somebody who is a Samaritan. And he fell at the feet of Jesus and he thanked him. And Jesus, it seems, is sad because 10 of them got better, but only one came back. And then Jesus says this, 10 were cleansed, were they not? Where are the other 9? Has none but this foreigner returned to give thanks to God? Where are the other 9? Where are the rest?